Hey everyone, welcome to Our Small Footprint. My name is Nyssa, and if you're new here, we are a large family living off-grid in Australia. It is the 31st of December, so it is the last day of 2025. Now, I have a few things that I want to do, like a chat video, because I didn't do my last Sunday squirrel, which was going to be like this last Sunday of 2025, because Mum was here, and it's one of those things when I have someone here, I'm not very good at filming, I'm not very good at editing or anything like that, because I feel like they should have my attention. So it is what it is. That is the way I am. It's like when I go shopping with people, like I've said, if I have someone with me shopping, I find it really hard to film and stuff, because I just feel like they should have my attention rather than the camera and things like that. So anyway, that's just inbuilt manners. You can blame Mum for that. So while she was here, we didn't get a lot done, actually. We were hoping to do some reorganizing and stuff like that, but some of the tasks that need to be done in a sequence to be able to do further tasks, we couldn't do. We ran out of staples for the staple gun, for the netting, for the patio and things like that. So anyway, we will discuss all of that later, but while she was here, we didn't do much. We just sort of plodded. I did do some cooking and stuff, but I didn't share any of it. We did a baked risotto with garlic prawns, we did pizzas one night, we reheated sausage rolls for lunch one day, and I shared my noodle dish with her the other night. So, you know, we did plenty of food, but I didn't really share it, and we ate lots of leftovers of desserts and stuff that were from previously. So we're back to normal life. Yay. And now I have to finish doing anything that hadn't been done from the grocery trip before Christmas. So the pork needs to be done today. I really need to get it done today. So we have 2 pork roasts. One of them was mostly intended for making gyoza with and things like that. I bought a whole bunch of dumpling wrappers. I bought some square ones because I'm going to try the ones where you don't fold it, you just scrunch it, as well as the normal round ones that I pleat. So the plan is to get pork cut up and sorted. Now, we did try and clean the smoker out, and we were going to smoke a portion of pork over Christmas, except we didn't get there. There was just plenty of other food and it didn't happen. So, and now it really needs to be used. Unfortunately, it's today's date. It just needs to be done. It's late already. It's already 2 o'clock, so it's too late to put one on today, and the weather is turning. So the smoker at the moment is out on the back patio. I'm going to bring it inside so it doesn't get wet, but we can't use it at the moment. So I don't know if you can tell, but it's all of a sudden windy and overcast, which is great for coming out of the kitchen. But anyway. But so what I think I'll do is I have 2 pork roasts that need to be used. I will probably cut one up into big chunks and freeze it in a Ziploc bag and use it for pulled pork in the next couple of weeks, because I can stick it straight in the pressure canner from frozen. And that way it doesn't matter that today's the date, because I don't need to defrost it before I use it. And that's the thing. Anything that I'm doing with it now, it needs to be cooked today, and then potentially reheated from cooked, or it needs to be frozen and used from frozen, because today is the use by date on the pork, which is only... Pork is actually a red meat, so realistically use by dates are best before dates are 2A degree flexible, like with red meat. It will base it purely on smell and texture and things like that, and it'll be fine because it's been stored in the bottom of the chest fridge, so the fact that it's today's date is fine, and it probably could last more days, but we're not going to risk it. So, you know, I didn't end up making the chicken brie cranberry things that I intended to make over Christmas either, so we will make them in the next couple of weeks. I purposely put a whole bunch of chicken thighs in the freezer so that I could mince them up to do that at another point. So I purposely did that. And I have prawns defrosting in the bottom of the fridge as well, because I want to do some pork and prawn in the gyozas and stuff like that. So anyway, we're going to get started. I'm going to pull the pork out. We're going to skin it and cut it and figure it out, get it minced, and then see how we go. Okay, so I'm almost through the first roast. I've got a bag that's going to freeze in a shape that should fit straight into the pressure cooker. So I'm going to throw that straight in the freezer to freeze for pulled pork. And the rest of the roast I have been cutting into pieces that will fit in the mincer. And I'm going to grab the other one out to mince as well. And we will do gyozas, or I will cook off the pork mince if necessary, just with some spices, and it'll freeze and we can use it. But I'm not going to freeze it raw for all the things we discussed earlier. Now, I'm not making potatoes today because we will have gyoza or whatever for dinner. But I am going to, I did leave a bit of extra fat on some of these pieces, and we do have potatoes left over at the moment because I bought some for Christmas, and then we also got some in the hamper. So I'm going to cut this up so that I can freeze it, and we will have the rind over the potatoes with some sort of meal later on in the month, a meal that has potatoes as a side sort of thing. So I'm just going to slice this up into pieces, freeze it, and then have it there to use with potatoes later on in the next week or so before the potatoes go bad, probably, to use them up. So yeah, so I'll put all this in the fridge and freezer, grab the other pork out, and repeat the process. Second roast all diced up. So we're going to stick this in the fridge for half an hour to chill, because it goes through the mincer better when it's cold. Instead of getting mushed up, it cuts it better. So we're going to get this chilled, and I need to give my hands a break. I was having trouble even holding the knife by the ends of this amount. Cutting has become one of my significant pain points. So we've chunked it up anyway. So we got it'll be about 10 kilos all up of pork that we will mince up. So yeah, I'll get this in the fridge. I'll clean up my workspace. I do need to pull the prawns out to peel, but I'm going to give my hands a bit of a break first, because I won't be able to peel them either at the moment until it stops spasming. So we'll get this done, and I'll bring back. Alright, so Darryl helped me mince it all up. We used the Louvel as usual. I love my Louvel mincer. I mention it every time. Takes about 1 kilo a minute, low wattage. Just fantastic customer service. Highly recommend them. There is a link in my description. We minced it all up. I've ended up with about 9.5 kilos of mince. I'm definitely not going to need it all for the gyozas and dumplings and stuff. I'm not sure what I'm doing with it yet. I'm going to stick it all in the coldest part of the chest fridge for the moment, because I'm going to pull the prawns out to peel them. And then we'll see. I don't know. I need to get some cabbage out to shred up as well. It's already 10 to 4. I'm really struggling. It's just, yeah. So let's get this in the fridge first. We'll pull the prawns out. Now, being New Year's Eve, I have plans to make cocktails in the slushy machine, which I will share. But I also was going to make the faux chung fan for dinner, which is the prawns inside the rice paper rolls and steamed, like the authentic chung fan, which is the dish. So regardless of anything, I wanted to peel some prawns for that purpose, but I may end up doing the gyoza and stuff tomorrow. I really wanted to get that pork done today, but I have really struggled, and it has cooled down a little bit now because we got that tiny bit of rain. But even though the temperature has dropped, the humidity has climbed massively, so it feels really gross. And I was going to film all the cocktails tonight as well, as a separate thing. So I don't know. I'm going to peel these off to do the gyoza with. Maybe I will finish this video off now for the moment until I come back tomorrow to do the gyoza and the dumplings. It's supposed to be much cooler tomorrow. We shall see. Cooler is relative at the moment. And what I'll do is I'll do the chung fan as part of the cocktails and New Year's Eve video, and then that way I have that video that I can put out next, and we'll go from there. I don't know, it's always hard post Christmas when I take that little bit of a break. I do all those like daily videos, and then I take a few days off when mum's here and stuff, and I always really struggle to get back into the swing of things from that point forward, because it's hot. I've had a bit of a break, even if it hasn't actually been a break, and then yeah, it makes it challenging. So I need to sit down and work out my thoughts and stuff for doing a Sunday chat / first video of the year kind of thing. If anyone who's watched before knows that I don't really do New Year's resolutions as such, but I do reflections on the past year and then on how I'm hoping this year will progress based on the previous year and things like that. So I normally have a sit down and write myself some notes and have a think about it and a reflect on the previous year, and then try and make some decisions on how I'd like things to go the next year and things like that. But so I need to do that and share. So maybe that's something I'll do while I'm sipping my cocktails tonight. But yeah, so I think I'm going to just stop there. All the pork is in the bottom of the fridge. I was thinking something that we do really enjoy is zuppa toscana canned, so canned zuppa toscana. And I can probably, because I've got potatoes at the moment, it's a potato and sausage soup, see, so I can probably cook off a bunch of that sausage in the seasoning like I normally would, because if you cook it off before you can it holds its shape better, so the texture of it is a little bit better. So I can probably cook off a bunch of that and can it, because we have a lot of potatoes left still. So that might be a good use of that. We won't eat it while it's still warm, but it'll be great for winter. So anyway, I'll bring you back when I figure out what it is that I'm going to do. Alrighty, so it is next. I got started much later than I intended. It is already 3 o'clock, but we had some cocktails last night. We had a bit of a sleep in, and we have spent all morning getting the patio mostly finished. So it is mostly screened off. I will show it off in the Sunday chat video. And now I need to get everything else done, these gyoza and stuff done. So the plan here is to do, I just looked and I've got about 360 wrappers, 2 different shapes, because I'm planning on trying a slightly different fold to normal. And there's some marks in this one. And so I can do around about 5 or 6 kilos of mince worth of gyozas. So I'm working on a recipe that sort of have pulled together that works for around about 1 kilo of mince. So each like it's on a ratio basis. So for each kilo-ish of mince, we need about 200-ish grams of shredded cabbage. Now, sorry, I'm thinking while I'm talking, always makes me stutter a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm shredding up the cabbage really nice and small, and I'm going to sweat it with a little bit of salt, because we just want, it's a whole lot easier than trying to cut it. But we also want it to blend into the gyoza rather than be like in a spring roll, you regularly want it to be quite a texture thing, but in gyoza you just want it to be a filler rather than a texture. This one just has some marks on the inside of the leaves. It's fine, it's probably still perfectly edible too, but aesthetics wise I'm just cutting it out because I can. So I have a cabbage here. This cabbage should be around about enough weight, but I'm just going to make it work. So I'm just going to mince it up quickly. Just like that, into fine sort of a dice. I'm just going to grab the scale so that I can weigh this out of curiosity, just so I've got an idea. Too much cabbage can cause too much liquid in your gyoza filling, so SD card ran out. So that was about 600 grams of cabbage. So what did I say we're going to do? We're going to do about, we'll say 6 kilos. So we need around about 1 to 1.2 kilos of shredded cabbage approximately. It's flexible, but that's what we'll aim for. So we might only need half the cabbage. We might use the other half cabbage for okonomiyaki tomorrow or something. Alright, it's about 1.05 kilos now. This piece of cabbage also has some discoloration, so what I might do is just take that bit that has it, clean it up and use it, and then the rest can go in the fridge for something else where I don't have to go through it to find whatever those discolored bits are, which just seem to be like maybe it got rained on in the fields or whatever. Just seems to be some like water marking or something. It'll be fine. Just see, it's like some of the pieces just got a little bit water damaged or something. Who knows? That is the thing with our food. It comes from being grown. It doesn't just come into existence perfect. It comes from a field or something. So we were going for about 200 grams of cabbage per kilo. We're going to do 5 to 6 kilos of mince. So we wanted 1 to 1.2 kilos of cabbage, and we've ended up with 1.25. So that works well. Now I'm going to put about a generous tablespoon or two, I suppose, of salt in this cabbage and let it sit so that we can then give it a squeeze and get rid of some of that liquid that sits in it. I just noticed I've got a pretty drawing on my arm from one of the boys. So if you see that, a rainbow something. I think he said it looked like a popsicle that someone had taken a bite out of. So, alright, so we've got that cabbage. We're just going to let that sit with the salt for the moment. Let me get tidied up. Alright, I've got about just over 6 kilos of pork mince here that I minced yesterday. There is still a little bit left, so I think I'm going to have to fry it off, and I might freeze it in pics or something to use. You know how I talked about canning it as Italian sausage and potato soup or something, or it can just be thrown in noodle dishes or something. I don't know, but I'll need to cook it before I freeze it, so I'll need to season it and do it like that. And I just don't have time to do too much with it. Now, I kept the whites from the spring onions that I used for the chung fun last night, so I have those as well as a few extras that I had as well, and I'm going to dice all this up to go in to the gyozas, taking off any really yucky bits because everything's been sitting in my fridge for a while. So I'll dice this up and then we'll move on. Now, I did want to put some fresh ginger in, and I have a bag of frozen ginger pieces in my freezer somewhere, and I just can't find it. And I badly need to reorganize the freezer because the kids have just been tossing stuff in there, and I just can't find anything at the moment. But I haven't got around to doing it. And again, I've run out of time today to do too much fart-assing around, so I'm just going to deal with some powdered ginger, unfortunately, which is nowhere near the same, but it will impart some flavour, and that's the main thing. I would like far more spring onion than this for the amount that I'm doing, but this is all I've got left. So alright, we've got green onion. Alright, we're going to put some garlic in. We want probably about half a cup for this quantity, a significant amount of garlic. We're going to put some soy sauce in, which again, we probably want almost like a cup of soy sauce, probably like 4 tablespoons per kilo, and we've got 6 kilos, 4 tablespoons is about a quarter of a cup, so like almost a cup and a half. So I'm just going to very generously pour that in. like that. I'm going to add some sesame oil. And again, you sort of want like a tablespoon per. Sesame oil is expensive, but I will give a good glug through there. We're going to put some rice wine vinegar in here. Again, we're going to go like a tablespoon per kilo, so you know, approximately 6 tablespoons of that. What else do we want? So the ginger was the other thing. And again, as I said, I'm going to have to use some ground ginger because that's just all I've got at the moment. So I'm just going to do 4-5 teaspoons, a big tablespoon of it, like that. And then we need some cornstarch, around about a tablespoon per kilo. Again, I should grab measuring spoons, shouldn't I? But I haven't, so. All right, I'm going to put the end of that in there because it feels right for me. The other thing we can do is some egg whites if we need to, texture-wise, so we will see how we go. So the only other thing is the cabbage. So we've just salted it to get as much liquid out as possible, and all I'm going to do is hand squeeze it. And throw it in. So a fair bit of liquid left behind. Salt water there. All right, so now it's all about just getting all of this blended in. And now we don't have to be worried with this, like sometimes when we're working mince, we don't want to work it too hard because we don't want it to end up sort of a chewy, emulsified texture. That's actually what we're after this time, which is why we can use the egg whites too if we need to. So now all it is getting everything here mixed through. And man, this is cold because it's been sitting in the very bottom of the chest fridge. So we're just going to get everything mixed through. Now, I was going to add prawns to this, but you'll have seen the other video by now. We made the chung fun with the prawns, and we ended up making more today with the leftover prawns because it was just so tasty. And realistically, we had plenty of pork. We didn't need to add prawns to this. So this is what we've ended up with. So it's fairly sticky, not as sticky as it could be because it's really hard to work this much pork. So I bought my usual round wrappers to do our normal pleating, but I did buy some square ones because I wanted to try a technique that I saw online where they put a sort of a rounded amount. I'd like the slightly smaller ice cream scoop, but I don't know where it is. A rounded amount on the mat like this, and then we'll just do one more and we'll see if we can get it to work like that. And then they grabbed the square one, and then can you grab a bowl of water for me and a pastry brush? Sonnet's going to come and give me a hand. So we're going to wet them, and what we do is we place it over the top and scrunch it. So it's one of those open topped, I don't know what they're called. There would be a name for them. One of the square ones, and then they just wet the whole of one side of it. And then they placed it on top of, and then they just twisted. So it all folded up like that. And then you've got one of those little open top dumplings, and then they just cooked them on the bottom, fried them on the bottom, fried them on the top. So I thought that would be a really nice simple way to do some of them. So we got the round ones for the normal folding and the square ones to do this, and these can just go straight in the freezer like this. Yeah, sound good? So we're going to give those a go, I think. So just going to wet And yeah, we can use that for the first bit. And then it was just a twist and pleat, and I'm sure there'll be a technique to it once, we'll figure it out as we go, but that's pretty neat, and it's a decent amount of filling per paper. So I'm gonna give it a go anyway. Yep. So I'm going to place these face up for freezing, I think. Dunno. We shall see. Sonnet's going to start on the round ones, I think, yeah? And I'll keep going with these ones. That way we don't need the same tools. And yeah, it's like you just tuck it in and twist it. Create those pleats in around the top.
Kavik said you ate some of that pasta I made with lunch.
No?
I went and made him ask you if you wanted any.
Yeah, he did come and ask if I wanted any, but I wasn't hungry.
He said you already ate some.
No, I think I said to him I've already had breakfast.
Oh, okay. Use your brush. I'd eat more of these every night if they weren't as hot.
They weren't so hot.
If they weren't as hot.
They're not spicy.
No, I meant as in like running my mouth hot.
Oh, diddums. Right. And Sonnet's doing the classic one that we always do, which she's gotten very good at doing. They're very neat and tidy now. But I'll demonstrate that again as I go. Don't put the cat near the bench.
Put him on the camera.
No.
Mom.
Cat. Pussycat. Yes. Taken away from the bench. All right. So the round ones, we just do around the edge.
As much filling as you want.
Spoon in the middle. A solid teaspoonful. Don't overdo it because you won't be able to pleat them. Bring the sides up, and then we fold, and we fold, and we fold in one direction. Fold, fold, fold in the other direction, and we've got these little parcels. So I've made these a few times, but so we're just going to keep on going and get as many of all of this done as possible. Right, so we got this tiny little bit of mince left here that we'll cook up just as is, plus the extra thing of mince that's in the fridge still that I still need to do something with. We used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 270 we ended up with. A bit less in numbers because the ones that have the meat in the top in the little parcels like this definitely uses about twice the amount of meat that is used in these little ones, which I think is actually quite a good thing. Less pastry to meat ratio is not a bad thing at all. So we're going to cook some of them up as well as the other ones for dinner tonight and see how they go. Cook this little bit of mince up, and I'll have to cook off that other pork mince for whatever I decide to do as well. But for the moment, that is 270 of those done. All right, so this shape, what we're doing is we're crisping up the bottom like normal, nice and crispy, ready to add the water. And then once I've added the water, I'll flip them for that last little bit of cook. So we're going to add, I'm going to turn them down a little bit. And we're going to add about 2/3 of a cup of water, and then cover them to steam. Alrighty, and once they're steamed, so they're going to be nice and opaque on the top, all cooked through. What we're going to do is we're going to flip them. Some of these got a little bit burnt, but we don't mind. It just ends up being crunchier. Flip them like this. I'm going to turn the heat back up a touch, and we'll get the top crispy as well. Optional, you could leave it soft not a problem. It's cooked all the way through once it's been steamed, but I'm going to flip them and get the top a little bit crunchy as well. I really did have this turned up a bit high, didn't I? But all good. And then the other ones, I'm just going to take the lid off, and then we'll turn it up slightly, and all the excess water will evaporate and they will crisp it back up. So that's them done, and we'll serve them with some dumpling sauce. And I haven't made anything else. When we have these, I'm a bit slack. They really should be served as a side to other things, but on the day when I'm making so many of them, we end up just eating them as a meal on their own, which I feel a little bit better about with these because they've got a lot more meat to dumpling ratio. But these are nice and toasty on the bottom as well, and soft on top because they've been steamed, and super tasty. So we've had two very decadent type Chinese meals 2 days in a row. Australianified, but tasty nonetheless. Alrighty, so the next day, as suspected, the larger dumplings with the higher amount of meat to the lower ratio of pastry. The kids, preferred the other ones because there's more pastry, but I really liked the ones with the extra meat in them. They were really tasty, and I prefer that ratio. So I've just cooked up the rest of the pork that needed to be cooked up. It is still hot, so I'm just letting it cool a little bit, and then it will go in the fridge. And I will either use this to make the canned soups, or it will be used in frittatas or quesadillas or noodles, or I don't know yet, but it'll be used. And then today, the other thing I just thought I'd share while I'm finishing things off is we're going to do hamburgers for dinner tonight. So I've done some brioche dough. I'm going to roll this out into hamburger patty buns, and we're going to have hamburgers for dinner tonight. The brioche dough is always a little sticky, which lends for lovely soft bread rolls. And I did reduce the liquid just slightly, because it's a warm day, to make it a little easier to handle, so it's not too bad today. Do it in my normal 90-gram balls. Bring it in like normal. And they go on the baking tray. All right, I'm having a few dramas today. It's post end of year crap, which I'll have a Sunday chat video about, just reflections and thoughts and stuff like that. But it's just, anyway, I couldn't find my pastry brush anywhere. We found it now. I couldn't find my plastic sheeting that I normally put over the buns while they're proofing, so they got a little bit of a skin on them, which again, it's going to be fine. I've run out of baking paper. I don't know how. I have been using it rather excessively over the Christmas baking, but anyway, I ran out of baking paper, so I'm using greaseproof paper, which doesn't actually, it's not non-stick, and everything's sticking to it. I'm actually not sure how it's going to tolerate the temperatures in the oven either. I did used to buy silicone sheets. I used to have silicone sheets for all my baking trays. The problem was that I did all my baking in the barbecue, and they got so badly discolored, so hard to clean, that I stopped using them, started using baking paper predominantly. Now I've got the new oven, I should go back to the silicone sheets, so I need to buy some anyway. So yeah, today has been challenging, quite a few challenging days recently. So anyway, these are proofed enough. They'll last a little bit in the oven. Just putting some egg wash and sesame seeds on them, just because it makes them look nice, and I really like sesame seeds. And then I'm going to bake them, and then they can be covered up until dinner. And we're just using those frozen hamburger patties that I highly recommend from Costco. They are really nice. I should buy more of them because they just make for really easy hamburgers for dinner, especially if you're not being, silly like me and also baking your rolls. And yeah, so we'll have hamburgers for dinner. I don't have any lettuce either, so it's just going to be like patties and cheese and pickles and tomato and stuff, but it will be tasty nonetheless. Having a few lazy dinners at the moment. Alrighty, so I'll show them to you when they're done, but other than that, I think I'm going to sign off on this one. This should be plenty. So I've got that pork done, and I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing with it. I might use it for canning the soup. We might just use it over the next few days as easy pre-cooked meat to do whatever I want to do with. I don't know, but at least it's all cooked now and can be used. There is a whole lot of the gyozas and the dumplings in the freezer to use over the next few weeks as well, and which was the plan for it. It would be nice to be able to do enough to last us a couple of shopping periods, but they are very time consuming, though they don't take that long once you get it all just in hand and done, but you need to spend the day rather than just the afternoon anyway, because the kids like them in their noodles too and their ramen and stuff, especially if you cook them and they've chilled and then pre-cooked. They'll just throw them in their ramen from the fridge and they'll heat up with the ramen. So anyway, which might be nice in winter more too. Anyway, I am just going to leave it at that. I am going to bake these buns. I'll put some photos on the end of how everything turns out, and I think this should be enough for a video, but it's a bit of an all over the place video. I don't even know what's on it. But I'll have a look at it tonight. Plan to get it out tomorrow, and then I'll do my Sunday chat as the next one. So hope you're having a better week post Christmas than I am.